I was talking to a teacher recently about this assembly. I said on the morning show, and I said in an email to all the students, that the topics of today's assembly are a bit different than what we've done in the past with Colors of Pride. Okay, some of the things that you're going to see on stage today might be a little bit uncomfortable. Some of the things that you hear you might not agree with, and that's okay. Okay, this is an academic institution, and we need to learn how to listen to other people, hear perspectives, and appreciate them. That teacher that I just referenced said to me, you know what? In order for kids, this is a school, and in order for kids to learn, they need to listen. I don't expect you to agree with everything you hear, but you're here because you want to hear a perspective, and you want to appreciate the talents of your friends. If you really enjoy what you see today and you want to come see it again, please join us tonight at 7:30 in this same auditorium. If you want to have further conversations outside of your nighttime tomorrow about what you see today, please join us during all lunches in room A33. Okay? I was going to share a personal account with you, but due to the tight time constraints, I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Dieg and these students that have worked so very hard on this presentation. So without further ado, let's give it up for them. So I read through the script, okay. And it's fair to say that I'm concerned.
All right.
I realize that this is just a perspective. I'm just not sure that our audience is going to be open or listen to some of this because it's edgy. In the past, we've done things about culture and dance and attire and clothing. And this is a whole different ballgame. And I'm just worried. Okay. I'm worried about how kids, adults, and the community are going to take this. I'm not sure we're ready.
Well, I'll say this. For, I'm going to say the last 3 or 4 years, AAAC students have always come to me as their advisor, and they wanted to tackle these kind of topics because of what's been going on in the world and culture and social media. And in the past, I've always said, no, it's too heavy, we're just not ready. However, in light of what's recently happened, I feel as though we have to address these conversations. And I know that they're edgy, but what better place than, in a classroom, in an auditorium, in a school, a public school, can we have these honest but hard conversations? So I think it's important to have them.
Do you not think that some kids are going to be offended?
Oh, absolutely. And the intention isn't to offend. The intention is to share a different perspective. Naturally, people are going to be offended because we may say some things that they disagree with or they don't like. But I'm open, and the students, and I believe that you'll be open to, let's have a conversation about what they don't like or what may offend them. But being offended is going to be a part of life that we have to figure out how to address. So let's start with the things that are happening currently in society.
All right, so I'll put you on the spot and say, what is the objective here then?
First objective is just to describe a perspective of people of color that's currently happening in this country. So share the perspective and share what we see is happening, that other people may not see that perspective. And then the second perspective, I would say, or the second objective would be just to open up this conversation, this dialogue. These things are happening, and I feel as though we aren't comfortable talking about them. So let's put it out there. Let's have this conversation. As one of my students would say, it's 2018, and let's just dialogue about it.
So to be clear, is the implication in this script that all of this is happening at North Penn?
No, not all of this is happening at North Penn. Some of these things do happen. Some of these things happen more often to some than others. They do happen, but not all of this happens every single day at North Penn. So I don't want anyone to take this this script that they're gonna see today or see at the assembly and say this is happening every single day. It isn't happening every day, but this is something that does happen, in life, and it has happened sometimes here at North Penn.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elena Faison, and on behalf of the African American Awareness Club, I would like to present to you the 2018 Colors of Pride Black History Month Assembly. Similar to the past, our objective today is to share with you a different perspective on what is occurring today and affecting the history of African Americans in our country. This year, the students of the African American Awareness Club wanted to tackle several different sensitive topics that are affecting many people today. These sensitive topics will include the Black Lives Matter movement and Kaepernick's decisions within the realm of the NFL. With this being said, we understand that what you may hear today it may be different from what's said in your homes or what you hear in the news. So we just want you to know that, however, if this makes you feel uncomfortable, it's not our intention to make you feel uncomfortable. Overall, our purposes for this assembly are to share a perspective within the Black culture that you may or may not have had an opportunity to hear, explain the side of Black Lives Matter that is often dismissed through the news and social media, and set the tone for discussing topics that may make some of us feel uncomfortable. These are topics that society has yet to comprehend and handle properly. However, as members of the North Penn community, let us be brave and open to talking about these issues and bringing them to light. Our topic for this year is Stay Woke. For those who may not know what staying woke means, it is being aware or knowledgeable about the events occurring in our world. We will start today with the singing of Lift Every Voice and Sing, written by James Weldon Johnson and adopted by the NAACP as the theme song. Lift Every Voice and Sing, also known as the Black National Anthem, gave hope to many during the Civil Rights era. Singing this song became a means by which African Americans could demonstrate their patriotism and hope for America. In calling for earth and heaven to ring with the harmonies of liberty, Black people spoke out against racism and Jim Crow laws. The lyrics embedded in the song say something about our heritage, the history of African Americans, and the pain, the triumphs, the opportunities, and the challenges of our country. At this time, we invite you to join us and stand for the singing of Lift Every Voice and Sing, sung by Deja Hose.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you, Deja. In light of what has occurred within our country and many others, we as students felt it is important to tackle and educate you all on some serious issues that often occur in our society. We will start off with something that students at North Penn commonly misunderstand, the topic of black hair. Many times, students and teachers see students of color with different hairstyles that are unfamiliar to them. There have been plenty of times when students, teammates, or teachers have felt comfortable asking me about my hair and black hairstyles in general. Now we will have some students perform a skit sharing some history and perspective on a variety of black hairstyles.
Oh, shit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm here to get my hair done, but I'm not really sure what I want to get done.
That's okay. I have many beautiful young ladies getting their hair done today. Why don't you just come and check and see what you want?
All right, come on. Oh my goodness. All this hair? How I get my hair like this?
See, this is that natural, kinky, curly hair. Curly hair comes in all different textures, from 3C to 4A. 3C being the loosest curl and 4A being the tightest coil. You can use products in your hair such as oils and products to give your hair moisture and shine. You can also do different styles such as braid outs, twist outs, and bantu knots to give your hair a different curl.
So how does the hair actually curl up? Like, what's the secret ingredient?
I've been waiting to tell you guys the secret ingredient to curly hair. Water.
H2O?
H2O. You put it on your hair and your curls will magically appear.
Shoot, I might have to consider that one. Hey, this hairstyle reminds me of Bob Marley.
These are dreadlocks, also known as dreads or locks. To start this hairstyle, you can do a 2-strand twist, a coil, or a braid, and your hair over time will lock up.
I heard dreads usually smell and they never wash.
No, that is absolutely incorrect. Just because some people don't take care of their hair doesn't mean that it applies to everyone.
I just assume you ain't had to do nothing with dreads. Wait, this looks similar to dreads.
No, these are not dreads. I repeat, these are not dreads. These are individual braids. And how this hairstyle works is you take a section of your real hair and you braid in added hair to give it length, such as Sage right here.
Oh. How long does this usually last for?
This hairstyle is only supposed to last for 4 to 6 weeks, although people keep them in for way too long.
So how long does this process usually take?
This hairstyle takes about like 5 hours, so if you want braids, be sure to sit in the chair for a while.
Oh, thanks for the tip. I've seen this style a lot, but I'm not really sure about it.
This is a weave. And how this hairstyle works is you braid back your real hair, and with a needle and thread, you sew on the tracks of hair.
Oh. So any key things I need to know about this style?
Yes, there is one key thing. You need to make sure that your leave out is blended with your weave.
So you saying if you don't blend it, it look tacky?
Tacky, it look,
Hold up, I know this style. It's the Kardashian boxer braids.
No.
All right, calm down.
That is cultural appropriation at its finest. These are not Kardashian boxer braids.
No.
These are braids or cornrows dating back to our ancestors in Africa, even our ancestors who were slaves. They used this hairstyle for maps to freedom.
That's interesting. Is this another weave?
No, this is not another weave. This is actually her natural hair.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure. She straightened it. It takes time and effort and not just a straightened iron.
What you doing with her hair? Everybody look done.
See, what I did here is I wrapped her hair, and I'm going to take it apart for you. See, it's 2 strands, and you wrap it, you twist it, and then you wrap it into a bun. This is, when you don't feel like doing your hair or something.
Shoot, but it look cute.
Yes.
What is y'all doing here?
I'm here to get my waves.
Waves.
Yeah, the lines on your hair, we use the brush. The lines on your hair, when you brush it 360, make the girls seasick.
Okay.
If you want them seasick waves, you need that dewy.
For sure.
Hold up, dewy. So do you use dewies or brushes?
I use a sponge.
Sponge? Like to wash the dishes?
What?
Here you go. Show her.
Hold on. Let me see this real quick. All right, show me what you gotta do.
All right, so you get some water or some gel or some oil if you fancy. And then you just put it in your hair, just, then you be popping, you be dope.
Right.
Shoot, I guess. Well, you know, I'm gonna have to consider all these hairstyles because they really good. But I don't know what I'm gonna get. You know, I might just get a sew-in.
You should. Come on.
Bye.
As you can see, there are a variety of aspects that go into the process of hair for people of color. If you are interested in learning more, please feel free to talk to any of the students you saw on stage today. Next, we will transition into the topic of the former NFL player Colin Kaepernick and his recent choice within the realm of NFL.
Page 7.
Okay.
I love football. I'm a season ticket holder. I'm thrilled, and I'll never be the same person now that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. However, I see that you guys want to talk about Colin Kaepernick
Yes, we do.
and kneeling during the national anthem. He's a really, really polarizing figure, and it doesn't, in my experience, there's really not a continuum here. It's people feel one way or they feel the other.
Like you just said, people often feel one way or the other, but what my students have experienced and what I've experienced is that they don't often see this perspective that we want to share today. So this isn't about a right or wrong. It's just listen to the story, hear the narrative, and then you can form your own opinion whether you want to or not, but just hear a different perspective.
The objective is to share the story,
Yes.
the why, and the history behind why he knelt.
He did it.
And why people feel one way versus they feel the other, that type of
Right.
thing. So it's not necessarily to change someone's opinion.
No.
It's just to inform.
I think the students and the staff will be very prepared to handle this.
Okay.
At the beginning of the school year, during our AAAC meetings, we were talking about Kaepernick's decisions and how some students were taking his choices and acting them out within the halls of North Penn. This conversation led to different perspectives, also pointed out that many people who may not know how the history of this all came about. Next, we will share a video explaining Kaepernick's perspective and how some can relate to his decisions and how the students of the halls of North Penn act them out.
August 26, 2016, San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick took a knee during the playing of the national anthem. The action, which gained much national attention, began as a peaceful protest against the perceived oppression of black people and other minorities. Since the beginning of Kaepernick's protest, many athletes of many different races across the nation have joined in taking a knee to demonstrate their disapproval of injustices. The Giants, Oliver Vernon, Dolphins, Kenny Stills, 49ers, Eric Reed, Marquise Goodwin, and Eli Harold have taken a knee to show support. The Raiders, Marshawn Lynch, Seahawks, Jerron Reed, Michael Bennett, Frank Clark, and other players sit in protest while the anthem is played. Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod of the Philadelphia Eagles, Rams outside linebacker Robert Quinn, and many other NFL football players have put their fists up during the anthem to show their disdain concerning the discrimination of African Americans and other minority groups face. Specifically, Malcolm Jenkins expressed how these actions helped to change the dynamics of the conversation. All of these athletes have, in some form, demonstrated with him in showing that they will not tolerate unequal treatment of people of color. Eagles defensive end Chris Long offered his support for the cause by putting his hand on the back of Malcolm Jenkins, while Jenkins raised his fist in the air during the singing of the national anthem. Although it is perceived by some that Kaepernick gained a great amount of support, others believe there was an even greater amount of backlash. Many called him a coward, un-American, and disrespectful for his peaceful protest. They claimed he was disrespecting veterans.
But I will tell you, you cannot disrespect our country, our flag, our anthem. You cannot do that.
It is our perspective that disrespecting our flag was not their intention. Kaepernick's act of kneeling was done to speak out and spread awareness about all the injustices African American people face.
You know, I have great respect for men and women that have fought for this country. I have family, I have friends that have gone and fought for this country. And they fight for freedom. They fight for the people, they fight for liberty and justice for everyone. And that's not happening. I mean, people are dying in vain because this country isn't holding their end of the bargain up as far as, you know, giving freedom and justice and liberty to everybody.
Kaepernick, along with aforementioned others, have made their stance clear.
This season, I'll be raising my fist to take a stand for racial equality and a much-needed reform to our criminal justice system.
We're playing against policies and practices that reinforce the cycle of poverty in the communities that need the most help.
These are bipartisan issues.
I have police in my family.
I have military in my family.
This is about lifting up our communities and treating them with the dignity and support that they deserve.
We invite all Americans to join us as we talk about these issues.
The only way to create change and win is together.
We believe their motives were never intended to disrespect anyone who served. Aside from the actual reason for kneeling during the anthem, some still disapprove of anyone kneeling, especially Kaepernick for starting the protest. President Trump claimed that,
So I watched Colin Kaepernick, and I thought it was terrible. And then it got bigger and bigger and started mushrooming. And frankly, the NFL should have suspended him for one game, and he would have never done it again.
however, Kaepernick believes in his responsibilities as an American citizen to fight against injustices are greater than any responsibilities he owes to the NFL. For his decision to kneel, many argue that Kaepernick has sacrificed playing time, endorsements, and his spot on a team. African Americans peacefully protesting has always sparked controversy. During the civil rights movement, many people protested peacefully in the forms of sit-ins and marches. Freedom Riders, Martin Luther King Jr., Birmingham protesters, Rosa Parks, civil rights marchers, and the activists who were peacefully showing the world that people, regardless of the color of their skin, deserved equality, were met with racial slurs, continuous prejudices, and hate. Hoses, dogs, attacks, house bombings, lynching, Jim Crow laws, and imprisonment in response to their actions and beliefs. Since the beginning and even now, African Americans protest peacefully in hopes of being a catalyst for change, but this still sparks controversy and much hate. Regardless of the reaction Black people will inevitably face for peacefully protesting injustices, African Americans will continue to peacefully protest until equality is reached.
So, some of you may ask, how does this all relate to North Penn? At the beginning of the year, throughout the height of many social issues, some students here at North Penn chose not to stand for the pledge or possibly take a knee during it. During our AAAC meetings, we often discussed some reasons behind those acts in our meetings. It was never acceptable to disregard the request of any staff member who inquired us to either stop walking or stand during the pledge. However, similar to Kaepernick, many students felt it is our choice to do so, and we are able to do so in a respectful manner. Next, we will take a look into the aspect of education, historically Black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. During many of our meetings at the beginning of the school year, our 2018 grads talked about the option of applying to an HBCU. There are many pros to making a decision to do so. Now we will have some AAAC students repping some of the social highlights attributed with joining an HBCU.
Historically Black colleges and universities are the institutions of higher education within the United States. They were established before 1964 with the intention of serving the Black community. Prior to 1863, most Southern states had what were called land-grant colleges. These colleges generally excluded Black people from entering. In 1890, the Morrill Act was passed, which required states to a separate land-grant college for Blacks, if they were currently excluding Black people from joining their campus. Most HBCUs were founded on this act. There are currently 105 HBCUs today in the United States.
I take a lot of honors and AP classes, and I'm one of the only Black students in the classes, so sometimes I feel outnumbered and not comfortable. So I feel like going to a HBCU, I'll feel more comfortable and be able to relate to more people who look like me and have the same goals and values. All the PWIs are pretty good schools. HBCUs, like, just help build stronger connections with the people of the same color.
Well, I'm attending a historically Black college because when I visited Morgan, it was just the idea of Black excellence and support, and I just feel like I would get a great experience there, and experience that's going to help me for my future.
As part of most HBCUs, the National Pan-Hellenic Council is a collaborative organization of 9 historically Black Greek letter organizations. Collectively, these organizations are referred to as the Divine Nine. The Council promotes interactions through forums, meetings, and other mediums for the exchange of information. They also focus on exchanges in cooperative programming and initiatives through various activities and functions. Also, each of these fraternities and sororities is rich in history. Ties to one or more of these organizations may be found in many college-educated Black families in the United States.
Just as the reasons to go to a HBCU of the not being a minority anymore and being with students and people who are like you, it's the same thing as the networking. You're networking with people who have gone to HBCUs, whether it be the HBCU you graduated from or another HBCU, and it gives you a sense of community of, I can find myself in this job, I can find myself in this field, or I can use a mentor who has been where I've been or where I'm going. And it's a really great opportunity for our students, for any student who wants to go to an HBCU in order to get their foot in the door somewhere or have a mentor to help them go where they want to go in life.
HBCUs offer institutions that want to see Black people like me thrive and grow, and they empower the students. Everybody at the school is a scholar, everybody has ambitions, and they create the Spike Lees and the Oprahs of the world.
AAAC! Yeah! Stay what? 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 Stay what?
As you can see, the physical environment of an HBCU is similar to many other colleges and universities in the country. The only difference is that HBCUs provide students of color with the opportunity to be surrounded with other students of color. an experience that North Penn doesn't really offer. And now on to our next topic. We take a look back in the history of the lives of African Americans during slavery. Slaves were often described as worthless. During the Civil Rights era, some described people of color as inferior. Today, social inequality is still, unfortunately, a very prominent topic. When we look at current responses to injustice, it can be perceived that Black lives aren't as important as other lives. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks are all leaders you know. They are known for uplifting and empowering the Black community. But if you had to name some minority leaders today, would you be able to do so? Many of the most culturally prominent leaders support the Black Lives Matter movement, so much that the Black Lives Matter movement has gained international support. Now we will share some Black Lives Matter movement through two lenses, the conversations leading up to today and the format of our weekly meetings.
What I've read so far is beautifully written. I'm really proud of our students. There are times where I read it and I'm sad that kids in this building feel this way about certain things, and people in general in our society, regardless of race or ethnicity or religion, feel this way and feel these things. I'm also really proud that North Penn's gonna start talking about it. All that said, as I said, things are escalating.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And with Black Lives Matter, I assume you have heard all the counter arguments or the responses to Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Most specifically, I take great pride in my relationship and our North Penn High School's relationship with the Town Munson Police Department. There's great men and women that work there that risk their lives, that come to North Penn, and I've seen them work with kids and be very empathetic and sympathetic and helpful to us and our students. And we've worked so hard. And I don't want the perception to be that North Penn High School is doing presentations about Black Lives Matter. So I'm going to go back to what I did originally. What's the objective? Why are we talking about Black Lives Matter? And what are you hoping to do with this skit?
With the portion about Black Lives Matter, it's just about sharing, the history behind it, how it started, why it started. Oftentimes people think Black Lives Matter and they think, anti-police or anti-cops, and that's not how it originated. That's not what it's about. But in this skit, we want to share the history behind it, what started it, and also making sure that we touch all the different aspects, because there are multiple sides of it. But I think there are multiple sides that we don't know about, or we don't educate ourselves about. We only look at the one version that often is shown on social media. So it's just about educating a perspective, and with this, educating about the history of Black Lives Matter and where it started.
I did kind of run this by our local police department to get their perspective and their feedback. That's not to say they agree with everything that's in the script, but we did engage in conversation. Some of the feedback was awesome, that this does need to be talked about, and if you can't talk about it in a school, where can you? In an educational environment. We really do value the men and women that risk their lives for us.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean there haven't been indiscretions in our society and issues. I just want to make that point really well understood and known.
I'm glad we got their perspective, because I think their perspective is important. As you said, we work so hard to keep these positive relationships going, and I would hate for anyone to look at this as something against one side or another. So we're not against, anybody. We're just trying to make sure we share perspective, and, I hope everybody learned something from this today.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. All right, hi everybody. All right, so we're about a week and a couple of days away from the Colors of Pride Assembly, and today we wanted to talk about how we're going to explain the Black Lives Matter content, okay?
Yeah. Come on, Dr. D. We all know what Black Lives Matter is and how it impacts us today.
I know that we know what Black Lives Matter. I know that we've been talking a lot about it, but I want you guys to delve into it a little bit more and tell us some perspectives, like how it started and who started it. Can anybody give me any ideas on who came about with it? Tabari.
Black Lives Matter was a movement started in 2013 by Alicia Garza, Patrice Colores, and Overton Meddy. It was started in response to the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the relation to the shooting of Trayvon. And it continues to advocate against violence and the systemic racism towards people of color.
Okay, good. Now, can anybody tell me, besides Trayvon, because we've heard about him a lot, Any other, people that have been affected by this and any more information about it? Emmanuel?
The movement sparked following the deaths of Eric Garner and Michael Brown.
Okay, so that's important information to share. Now, when we think about Black Lives Matter, we often hear other catchphrases that people say in response. Can you tell me some of those catchphrases?
The phrases "All Lives Matter" and "Blue Lives Matter" didn't really help the Black Lives Matter movement because it wasn't proving the actual point of the whole movement.
Okay, so can anybody tell me why those statements received any criticism at all? Like,
Basically, All Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter are just slogans that distract from real problems that Black people face in America. Think of it like this. Say that you're sitting down with your family having dinner, but you don't get any food at all. You say that you don't have a fair share of the meal, but your dad jumps in and says, well, everyone should get the fair share of the meal. While that makes sense, it still hasn't solved the problem that you haven't gotten anything.
I like that example. It's really different, but I think it applies to the point. All right, so when you guys think about Black Lives Matter, tell me some of the cons or the rebuttals that you might hear. Anybody?
I hear people say, like, what about black on black crime? And if Black lives are so important, then why do Black people kill Black people?
Okay, that's good. So how would you respond to something like that?
Well, I was reading an article by Francesca Ramsey, and the way she phrased it is Black Lives Matter isn't solely focused on the loss of Black lives, but the consequence or the lack of justice. And when someone commits a violent crime, they're usually arrested, tried, and convicted. Conversely, there's a lot of evidence that it's very rare to secure an indictment against a police officer for excessive force. And an indictment is just it's just a trial. It's not even a conviction. And Black Lives Matter isn't just about the loss of Black lives, which is awful, but it's about the lack of consequence when a Black life is taken by a police officer.
That's a really, really good point. I like that. So can somebody else give me another perspective that they heard or another rebuttal and how they would respond to it? Who wants to do it? Hadi.
Well, I hear a lot of people say that Black Lives Matter is only causing more divisiveness. Well, the way I would respond to it is that the purpose behind Black Lives Matter is intended to bring awareness to a problem that has been ignored for centuries. Philando Castile was shot dead while his fiancée and daughter were in the car only for a broken taillight. Statistics often show that people of color are disproportionately targeted by police officers. While there are many respectable cops every day working, few incidents of police brutality specifically have sparked this movement.
All right, I really like that answer. Can anybody give me one more rebuttal, one more con that people can share with? Gordon.
White people face the same difficulties as a person of color. I believe that's false because we, as a people of color, face a lot of hardships. For me personally, I have to watch how I dress because I don't want to be caught getting shot in an alleyway by some dude that thinks I'm suspicious. Another one would be I have to treat police with the utmost respect, no matter how they would treat me. And I'm taught to love the color of my skin and my pride and the way I dress. But other races don't even seem to give it a second thought.
I think you made some really good valid points. I think that when we share this with the school next week, it's going to be awesome. You guys did a good job. All right, thanks.
Too often, after the murder of an unarmed Black person by law enforcement, it seems media outlets often look into the victim's past and records to dig up negative information said about the victim, as if their past justifies their death in any way. This very kind of victim-blaming motivated activists in the Black Lives Matter movement to support many families like Trayvon Martin's, Alton Sterling's, Michael Brown's, and Eric Garner's in the fight for equality and justice. When speaking to a local Townsend police officer, he discussed the implications of the fact that some subjects mentioned were involved in breaking the law. However, he also stressed, although they may have committed a crime, it doesn't mean that they deserve to die. When sharing perspective with the North Bend teacher, he shared that when he would never understand what it felt to be a Black man approached by a cop car Many of us will never know what it feels like to be a cop approaching a car. As students, we want to discuss these issues and engage in conversation to bring light to these issues in our society. Being silent about these issues is a big part of the problem. In fact, in a time where incidents such as Charlottesville have become more common, we must unite with our different backgrounds to combat such hate for the sake of our future generations.
We got through the Black Lives Matter skit. I think that was really well done. I think the kids and you put a lot of time into it. It definitely offers a perspective. I'm not sure I agreed with everything that was said, but I think I do. At least it starts a conversation, and I know certainly at the end of the assembly we're going to focus on providing an opportunity for kids to continue the conversation if they want to talk about it. I keep mentioning that this seems to be ramping up, and it is culminating in these 3 poems that we have here. And I'm all about poetry. I think art is supposed to evoke emotion. I'm worried about the content.
There are things that are going to be said in this poem that I'm not saying happens at North Penn High School, or it's not, a lot of this is not a reality here, but it is a reality in the world. So we're trying to address some things that may happen at North Penn, but also things that happen in the world also.
I think if we have a way of sharing that with our audience, and the fact that some of this is related to North Penn, some of it is not, some of it is the education system at large and as a whole, and I don't think anyone, including the people that have the most control over education in this country, would share that they think it's perfect. There's in the last poem, written by one student named Jamie, I believe.
Yes. I think we have to do it. When you said there are certain things that are meant to, make you feel a way, it isn't about evoking, emotion per se, but just sharing how she feels and her perspective being a young woman of color in 2018, these things that happen, whether it be in school or out of school. But with that being said, I think it needs to be done, but why don't we get her perspective in that way that she can share to you exactly, or share with you exactly where she's coming from and what her thoughts are when she wrote it?
I think that would be really helpful, because I read some lines in there, and while I'm fine with them being personal to her, I read them as though they're personal to maybe some other people.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with that. So I really need to know her audience, what she's thinking and how she's feeling.
Awesome. I say let's call her down, and that way she can share with you exactly where she's coming from and her perspective.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't I go talk to Mrs. Leach? We'll see if we can get Jamie down here.
Okay.
Hi, Dr.
All right. Thank you for joining us on this lovely afternoon. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, can I see the poems?
Sure.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the poem that you wrote. All right. So first, let me compliment you. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
There are parts of it that they excite me, and I feel excited for you and the empowerment, and I think it's beautiful. There are parts that make me sad. And make me take a step back and think, boy, does this young lady in North Penn High School really feel this way? But I understand that that's what poetry is all about, and that it's a perspective. But I want to talk to you specifically about the objective of the poem, and then talk to you even more specifically about certain lines.
Okay.
Okay? So, the poem is titled Beauty.
Yes.
So, what's the point of the poem?
The point of the poem is to talk about Black beauty, talk about culture appropriation today, talk about Black men and women.
I see here, so for example, it says something like, maybe they just need a lesson, so let me give them a lecture. Who's they? Are you talking to the kids in the audience?
No, it's not kids in the audience. It's just about talking about anybody who just doesn't understand what's going on in today's world.
Okay. All right. That helps. That makes me feel a little bit better. All right. So I vetted this with a bunch of teachers. I sat down with Dr. Dieg way too much. I'm sure she just can't stand me right now. I talked to the admin team. I talked to local police officers. I talked to our department chairs. And just got a lot of feedback. Some friends from outside of North Penn. And there is one line in particular that people keep pointing to. I want to bring it up. I want to talk about it. And I want to know honestly what you meant. Because if it means what I think you mean, I just can't let you say it in an auditorium full of 1,500 kids at one time. It says here that they don't get a black card for dating a black man. I almost take it as you're not allowed, you can't have interracial relationships, you can't date who you want. I just don't, I have a problem with that line. So can you explain to me, Jamie, what are you trying to say? Because I can tell you initially I have a visceral reaction, like, oh, no, we can't say that.
So, like, just from the start, it's not like that at all. What I'm explaining here is that you can't say that just because you're dating a black person or you're friends with a black person doesn't mean that you are allowed to say the N-word or make you not racist. So I'm just trying to get the point across that you need to have a respect for black people, even if it's a friendship or a relationship. It doesn't really take it away that you can't say like the N-word. It's just not appropriate all around.
Got it. All right, so the way I took that was that because I'm a white man, I can't date a black woman, or vice versa. That's not what you're saying?
No.
Okay, you're saying that it doesn't matter.
What race you are, it doesn't matter at all. It's just a respect, you know? You're not going to say the N-word regardless.
Okay. I genuinely want to try to set an example for young people. I think it's important that we talk about things and issues that are facing our kids today. Mm-hmm. And if this is something that's really important to all of you,
it is.
It's important to me. So let's do it.
Now, imagine yourself in a classroom where 1 or 2 students looks like you. Imagine growing up in a neighborhood where nobody looked like you. Imagine living in a world where phrases like, "you're pretty for a black girl," or "all black boys are so athletic," are used. These experiences often lead to self-esteem issues in both black children and others alike. Many of our students are affected by these things on a daily basis. We live with the feelings of being inferior, and we struggle with them. Now, we will share a poetic rendition of some of the topics discussed today. Joining the poets will be members of the AAAC students and members of the CMT class under the direction of Mr. Tumala.
Some people will have you believe that we can't get degrees, but with the lack of resources, it is nearly impossible to conquer these courses. The texts are outdated and the money is segregated. They make us do community service, whereas they are doing me any service. As far as we are all concerned, we are the subjects. We deserve to learn.
Our education is from our environment. Our education is from our experience, and it's from within. But I've never been so frustrated to see the struggles of our people being held back for they are taught not to understand.
Y'all don't seem to overstand the power that is the man. We will have to acquaint with stupidity to make their money, which to them gives us validity. And no one likes an outsider. When they see that I've been reading books and it looks like I've been getting too clever, that makes us look even better.
Are we not smart enough, wise enough, good enough, or is it the way we think just not enough? A skill that is supposed to enlighten the mind and gain knowledge isn't that easy.
If my mind don't match theirs, then that's just what they need to put an end to my staircase to my success, and I can end up just like the rest. The funds can go anywhere except where they're supposed to be.
Yes, we are different, but we should be praised for our strengths and encouraged to improve our weaknesses. These school systems base our knowledge off tests and quizzes, but I'm not a number.
If the state's test states that you fail, then that's just what they need to build the next jail.
All I know is that my education will take me places, to see new faces and gain knowledge. But tell me, am I not smart enough?
If my mind is incomprehensible, then they simply do not think I'm able. Should I not do well on the keystones? Does that mean my life should be postponed?
Am I not prepared, ready for the path ahead? Am I misread, misunderstood for what's going on in my head? I don't think I'll ever know. But what I do know is that my education is hard work, skill, dedication, and power. And that is what I call ours.
This system is made not for us to get paid, which is why we need to grasp those A's. Still, I make do with what I have. Gotta work twice as hard just to get half as much. Though life in the system may seem strenuous, I still remain to keep my head up high and be spontaneous.
When it's spoken, I sit. We sit when we stand because we don't understand why we sit. If we kneel, then we'll be right back where they want us to be. So we get off our knees so we can still be seen, but we don't stand. Because when it mentions man, it refers to the lighter color ones. No, the whiter color ones. So we sit so you can comprehend where we're coming from.
We live in a world where black people are falsely identified because we all look the same with hoods on. We're broken down by bullets and purposely separated and not cared for. This is just a small list of things we wanted to be directly delivered to you. Are we different, or do you see the biggest difference that we're not the same color as you? We were mistakenly judged on purpose, and our lives are dismissed and put onto hoodies, and apparently, I'm the coolest monkey in the jungle.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life that is taken from the blue-colored ones. We're not anti-police. We're beat him till he bleeds. We're pressed on his chest so he can't breathe. Liberty? We laugh because that's a joke to me. If I'm not speaking for all, then we're not free. I may be physically able to walk, but my lips are handcuffed to prevent me from speaking my thoughts.
We have ancestors who fought for our freedom and broken down from head to toe and purposely promised that change would come. They prayed to see change in us, the next generation, and I want to see their faces when our president relayed a message that our change won't come.
With all due disrespect, I'm tired of the crime they be committing. They be forgetting, but I be remembering. You see, I remember when they saw that black girl rocking her cornrows, and I know some try to do the same hairstyle on the low. But the funny thing is, they try to claim it as their own, and they let it be known they took some from us, a piece of me, a piece of us, and named it boxer braids. This wasn't the first offense they made. No, you see, they try to take my culture. Maybe need a lesson, so let me give them a lecture. They can't get my melanin from a tan. They can't get a black car for dating a black man. They're bold enough to act like they're black, how they don't understand they lack. Lack something called black beauty, something you can only have if you're black. Yes, melanin is popping, but it's more than just big butts, big lips, and big mouths. They say big things from Texas, but we aren't from Texas, we aren't from the South. Now, let me relay this story, because black gods and goddesses are born with natural strength. They got confidence and sense. They are intelligent and resilient. Some would even say they're God sent. Misunderstood are these black men and women. Strong, their ancestors were taken from their own land like it wasn't a sin. They lead like MLK, fight like Malcolm, you can even say. And no, I don't have an attitude. I'm just tired. Tired of my culture being taken, and tired of my beauty being forsaken.
We have shared many aspects with you today. We have shared an education on Black hair care, an understanding of purpose behind Kaepernick's decisions, and a foundation of HBCUs, our thoughts on Black Lives Matter, and a poetic perspective on education, the Black Lives Matter movement, and beauty. We have done all this to share a different perspective, to open up conversations here at North Penn, and to overcome issues that are present in our society. We understand that to some, this assembly only shows one side of a very complicated story. We understand over the years there's been so much progress in the world. However, these issues are still alive, and they often hit too close to home for many students. Our hope is that through this assembly today, we have offered an opinion and opened up the door for positive conversations. On behalf of the African American Awareness Club, we would like to thank you for your time and respect. We would like to thank the following: the teachers and administration, NPTV, the custodial crew, Mr. Tumla and the CMT class, and Dr. Dieg for all of the time and effort she put into this. Thank you.
Test 1, 2. Okay, at this point, I think it completely appropriate to give a resounding applause for these young men, women, and Dr. Dieg for their efforts. All right, one last thing before you're dismissed. As I started this assembly with, I realized that some of this might have made some of you feel uncomfortable. I realized that some of you might have been a little squirmish in your seats. That's okay. It's important for us to tackle important issues. This is important. And it doesn't matter where you are and where your beliefs are, it's important to talk about it, because that's how we make change in this world. I'm really proud of the students on stage. I'm really proud of Dr. Dieg, and I'm proud of all of you for signing up and being a part of the conversation. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you.